So you've completed the heart design. Congratulations. Give yourself a pat on the back. You deserved it. But now you're thinking, how do I make it a little more complicated? Like, what's the next step? Well, lucky for you, latte art progression is linear. You finish a heart, well, then maybe you do a stacked heart. Get that down? Well, then you can graduate to separating those stacks. And that's exactly what we're gonna do today. We're gonna focus on separating little hearts, otherwise known as stacks. The stacked tulip is considered a heart stacked on top of another heart, and you do that continuously. How many times doesn't really matter, that's up to you. So long as it's more than one heart, it's a stacked tulip. You can have 2 stacks, you can have 100 stacks if you can fit it in the cup. Challenge, get 100 stacks in the cup. And if you do, send a picture, and there's no reward, but do it. You'll feel good about yourself. When we talk about advanced tulips are simple stacked variations of latte art. So as you get better at latte art, you're going to see that things become kind of compartmentalized in these little sections. You have your base, you have the second layer, you have the third layer, and then you have the top heart. All of those can be broken down into individual pieces, and each one can have a different style of layer. It's kind of like potato head. You can switch the nose and the eyes and the mouth to look different, but the potato is still a potato. That's latte art. Latte art is a potato. So just like all pours, we're gonna start by integrating with the cup. And remember, the less you integrate, the more space you'll have to fill the cup. So if you want more tulip layers, well, then you're gonna wanna fill the cup up a little less before you start your design. And the opposite is also true. If you fill your cup up more, you'll have less space to add layers, so you'll have less layers overall. The principle behind doing a tulip layer is the exact same as doing a heart, except that we're gonna use a little less milk, we're gonna use a lot less flow, and if we are moving the layer, we'll be moving the pitcher rather than staying still like we do with the heart. So I guess it's not really like the heart at all, but the shape is the same. Just go with me here. So when we're doing a tulip, we want to be able to guide layers where we want them to be. With the heart, we stay still. With a tulip, we're gonna move the pitcher as the milk is flowing. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna start by landing directly in the center if you were looking down from a bird's eye view. And right as you land, you're gonna slightly nudge your pitcher forward while flowing out milk. As soon as you touch the surface, you're going to move that pitcher. If you hesitate and you hold the pitcher there too long, well then when you try to move your pitcher, you're gonna drag through it because the foam is going to have set. This is true for all latte art. You'll hear me mention it a lot in other videos. We wanna push this layer. We want it to glide to the back of the cup. And to do that, we have to land and move the pitcher while it's still in a liquid form. This should be pretty easy if your milk is well steamed. If your milk is not well steamed, that is a major prerequisite for good latte art. And if you wanna learn how to steam good milk, I have a video right here. I mentioned this in all my videos. It's a prerequisite. You gotta go take it. So at the end of each layer, you're gonna do this motion with your pitcher where you're gonna cut up in the direction that you were pouring the layer. This is kind of like creating a C shape or a crescent. And what you're doing here is you're creating more space between the next layer you're gonna add, and it's in the shape of that U. And that U is perfect because if you're pushing a layer into it and say it's starting to wrap up, the brown in between will be the exact same size throughout. Then as you finish that scooping motion, you're going to New York City. New York City, so loud, so loud. Then as you finish the scooping motion, you're gonna come back to the middle and push forward the same way you did your first layer, and you're gonna repeat this over and over again, each time going a little bit higher in the cup and pushing forward, scooping up, going higher, pushing forward, scooping up. Each time you're gonna stack a layer, the goal is to get color in between each layer. That's what we're trying to do. Whether or not the layers wrap is up to you, but I'll show you how to do that anyway. Each time you perform a stack, you are stretching the stacks underneath the one prior, which is gonna raise it up on the sides and create that quintessential, beautiful tulip shape that we know and love in latte art. If you wanna wrap a layer in latte art, say you wanna wrap 3 layers at the bottom and then do a couple stacked hearts above that, making this really pretty kind of flower-shaped tulip, well then you need to get closer to the layer that you want to have wrap something. The closer you put your pitcher spout when you push in, the easier it is for that object to wrap around. It's closer, it has less of a distance to go when you're pushing it in and the milk is pushing the other layer away. If you were to go to the top of the cup, so say you put a heart deep in the cup and then you went to the top and you guided a heart in, it's not gonna wrap. It's still gonna stretch the bottom layer a little bit, not as dramatically as if you were closer to that layer. So if you were closer to that layer and you guided it in by moving your pitcher forward, it's going to immediately wrap around that layer. So if you're trying to wrap something, you need placement and force. If you're trying not to wrap something, then you need to be further away from the layer that you don't want to have touch anything, and you need to use less force when you're pushing that layer in. If you wanted to wrap it anyway and you said, no, I can go all the way to the top of the cup and I can push it all the way to the back, you can definitely do that. But you're gonna use a lot more milk trying to get that layer to the back of the cup. You're losing real estate in the cup and it's filling up much quicker than you would have room for. Finally, it's the dreaded cut through. Strike through, pull through, whatever you will, it's dreaded. You're going to slow down your flow with your pitcher and you're going to strike through the middle of the design, making sure to be as symmetrical as possible. Then you're going to cut up, just like we did before you hit the bottom of the base. You can strike through the entire base, especially if you're a beginner, but down the line, I want to challenge you to not strike through and create a symmetrical brown ring around the entire cup. On the cut through, per usual, you're going to cut up on a diagonal as if the plane was taking off, not up and over like that. That is going to intensely sink some of the middle lines that you've created, and it's going to ruin your tulip. And you've worked so hard, don't ruin your tulip. So for example, let's do a pour where we wrap the bottom 3 layers and then we don't wrap the top 3 layers. Let's go check it out. So first we're going to integrate, and then we're going to land right directly in the middle and guide the pitcher forward and cut up. We're using a lot less milk here and a lot less flow. Then we're going to go above our first layer, but we're going to create a little bit of distance in between them, and we're going to guide them into each other. Then we're going to do that one more time, staying close to those original layers. Then for these 3 layers on top, we're going to separate and go a little bit further than the middle and not push in so hard. Then we're going to do that again right above it. Keep some distance in between those hearts so that they don't wrap each other. Then we're going to go to the very tip top of the cup, set a tiny heart, and then the dreaded cut through. We're going to try to cut through as straight as possible. And that is our tulip. That is our 3 wrap, 3 stack tulip right there. But that's it for me today, guys. That is how to do stacked tulips. If you enjoyed this, please consider a like, a subscribe, consider leaving a comment. Tell me what you didn't like and did like. And if you really want to support the channel, consider a super thanks down below. Or if you want to support us long-term and get bonus benefits for that, then you can go support our Patreon, link in the description. I really appreciate you guys. Have a good day.